This audiobook is not here to hype you up. It is here to retrain you. Motivation disappears quickly. Feelings shift every day. But real training reshapes how you respond when it counts. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because their mind stays untrained. Untrained minds panic in chaos. They freeze at the critical moment. They surrender power to feelings and outside noise. Lose command of your thoughts, and the rest of your life slips away. Life rarely tests how smart you are first. It tests how steady you remain when plans crumble. If your mind has no training, pressure will break you wide open. This audiobook prepares you for exactly those moments. When tension builds inside, when emotions scream for control, when one wrong reaction can cost you everything important. Real success isn't about winning every argument. It's about keeping command long enough to choose wisely. This is not feel-good talk. This is mental conditioning. Your body grows stronger through resistance. Your mind grows stronger through structure and daily practice. Reactive minds run toward ease and away from discomfort. Trained minds create a deliberate pause and then decide. That single pause holds all your power. You don't need a new personality. You need unbreakable stability. Calm in the storm is not luck or born talent. It is a skill you build through repetition. If you only listen without applying, nothing shifts. Apply these ideas actively, and your inner standards will rise forever. Training demands repetition. Strength never comes from one effort. Control is built by showing up daily. Let these words sink in. Feel where your old habits push back. That resistance is the beginning of real change. By the end, you won't feel like a brand new person, but you will be far more grounded, deliberate, and in command. This is how lasting victory begins, with a fully trained mind. Let's start. Chapter 1. Master your inner world. Mastery in life never begins with outside results. It begins deep inside the battlefield of your own thoughts. Long before any visible success or failure appears in your career, relationships, or daily choices, the real outcome is already decided in your mental space. Most individuals never notice this silent inner defeat because it happens quietly. A sudden doubt clouds your focus. Raw emotion overrides clear judgment. Hesitation steals your decisive moment. By the time the external world shows the loss, the internal war has already ended. That is exactly why conditioning your mind is not an extra option. It forms the entire foundation. When your inner state remains shaky, even the best strategies eventually collapse. When your thoughts stay scattered, no golden opportunity can hold its ground. The core rule of true mental conditioning stays simple, yet powerful. You must first claim victory within yourself before any outside triumph becomes possible. Too many chase improved routines or bigger goals while ignoring the hidden patterns that destroy those efforts the moment pressure arrives. They desperately seek unshakable confidence without first building the daily behaviors that actually create it. Confidence built without real command stays fragile and breaks easily. Drive without emotional balance turns into self-destruction. The inner world functions as the central operating system for every action you take. When that system runs weak, ordinary difficulties feel crushing. When that system runs strong, even massive disorder becomes something you can handle. Watch carefully how different people respond the instant something goes against them. Some spiral into panic. Others start blaming everything around them. A few simply shut down completely. These automatic responses reveal nothing about fixed personality. They expose an inner world that has never received proper training. A properly conditioned mind does not try to erase all emotions. Instead, it learns to organize them, creating a vital gap between what triggers you and how you ultimately respond. That small gap changes everything, because the instant you reply without thinking, you surrender your power to raw feelings, to other individuals, or to situations you cannot fully direct. Claiming victory in your inner world means taking that power back and becoming someone who rarely gets thrown off track. Not because external conditions suddenly turn easy, but because you develop genuine steadiness. This kind of steadiness never arrives naturally. It must be deliberately constructed. Far too many allow outside events, constant news, endless social feeds, shifting moods of others, or sudden obstacles to reshape their inner state moment by moment. They remain trapped in pure reaction mode, and that mode proves extremely dangerous. In reaction mode, personal standards drop instantly. Patience vanishes. Clear long-term thinking shrinks into desperate short-term relief. You speak words you later regret and make choices you later try to justify, rather than truly stand behind. True inner mastery means stepping out of reaction mode for good and choosing to actively shape your mental state instead of letting it drift passively. This process always starts with sharp awareness. You cannot guide what you never clearly observe. Most never notice their constant inner chatter, the physical tightness that appears with rising stress, or how fast their attention scatters when challenges hit. Conditioning truly begins the moment you start observing these patterns without harsh self-judgment. Notice when your thoughts race forward into worst-case scenarios. Notice when they desperately seek comfort instead of growth. Simple noticing marks the first real step of discipline. Once awareness arrives, interruption becomes possible, and that interruption turns training into reality. The next time you feel the strong pull to explode or withdraw, create a deliberate pause, not to bury the emotion, but to watch it clearly. Ask yourself one focused question. What would a truly composed response look like in this exact situation? That single question begins handing power back to you. Composed responses rarely appear flashy or dramatic in the heat of the moment. They do not deliver instant emotional release, yet they safeguard your future position and self-respect. Pure emotional outbursts may feel satisfying for a few brief seconds, but composed choices accumulate real strength across time. Here lies where countless people lose their inner battle. They pick quick relief over lasting self-respect, loud expression over actual effectiveness, and temporary comfort over sustained command. A well-conditioned mind grasps a fundamental truth. Every single situation contains two distinct parts: the event happening outside and your chosen response inside. You cannot always direct the external event, but you always hold full authority over your internal reply. The moment you mix these two realities, you quietly give away your greatest leverage. Phrases like, "they made me furious," or "that event forced my decision" sound completely ordinary, yet they quietly signal complete surrender. When you credit outside forces for controlling your inner state, you unconsciously accept a position of weakness. Inner mastery demands removing such language from your thinking entirely. No external thing truly forces your reaction. You react only because your mind never learned how to insert that crucial pause. Building that pause takes practice and initially feels awkward and uncomfortable. You will sense the strong urge to reply instantly, to defend yourself fiercely, to explain everything, or to prove your point. Treat that urge as a clear training signal, exactly like muscle burn during a tough workout that confirms growth is happening. Mental discomfort simply means your inner patterns are being challenged and reshaped. Most escape this discomfort through distractions, excuses, or by telling themselves, "This is just how I am." But that statement is never the truth. Your character under pressure is not permanently fixed. It is actively trained through small, often boring daily repetitions. You never wait for huge crises to practice staying composed. You train deliberately in everyday frustrations, slow traffic, difficult conversations, unexpected delays or minor misunderstandings. These ordinary moments are not annoyances. They serve as your primary training field. If you cannot hold steady during small tests, you will never magically become steady when the stakes turn massive. This explains why real victory always starts internally. Each successful pause, instead of automatic reaction, strengthens a new self-identity. I am the kind of person who remains in command. That new identity grows stronger with every repetition. Over weeks and months, real changes appear. Your body stays more relaxed during tension. Your breathing returns to steady faster. Your thoughts stop scattering so easily. These shifts happen not because life suddenly improved, but because your personal standards have risen to a higher level. Those standards form the unbreakable backbone of your inner world. A standard is a firm rule you follow, no matter your current mood or energy. Examples include, I refuse to raise my voice simply to feel strong in the moment. I will not rush important decisions just to escape unease. I stay silent when speaking would only weaken my position. These rules may feel limiting at the beginning, yet they eventually deliver genuine freedom. Freedom from later regrets. Freedom from later regrets. Freedom from pointless conflicts that drain your energy. Inner mastery also requires smart selection of battles. Not every comment, opinion, or disagreement deserves your full attention and energy. Untrained minds feel compelled to answer or fight every single trigger. Trained minds stay selective, and that selectivity itself becomes a form of quiet strength. When you stop reacting to everything, your focus and attention gain real value, and whatever receives your attention ultimately shapes the direction of your entire life. Patience forms another essential element of inner mastery. True patience is never passive waiting. It is holding firm command while time works in your favor. Impatient minds try to force results too early, speak before thinking, or act before the right moment aligns, often revealing their own weakness. Patient minds observe patterns carefully and choose their timing with intention. The ability to remain steady without anxiety while waiting reveals deep inner stability. This stability quietly influences how others treat and respect you. People naturally test boundaries when they sense reactivity, but they pause and show respect when they sense calm strength. This is simply human nature at work, not manipulation. A stable inner world creates a powerful yet quiet authority, the kind that earns respect through consistent behavior rather than loud demands. Respect grows from steady tone, steady decisions, and steady conduct, especially during difficult times. All of this consistency originates inside first. Mastering your inner world does not mean you stop feeling emotions entirely. It means emotions no longer hold the power to dictate your actions. You can experience anger without letting it control your words or behavior. You can feel fear without backing away from what matters. You can sit with uncertainty without becoming paralyzed. Creating that healthy separation between feeling and action represents true mastery. The real purpose of mental conditioning is never to suppress natural emotions, but to stop them from hijacking your choices and responses. Once you fully grasp this, you stop fighting against yourself and stop chasing constant calmness. Instead, you focus purely on developing reliable command. Command feels neutral, steady, and trustworthy. By the end of this chapter, understand one truth deeply. every meaningful external achievement is always built upon a prior internal victory. Lose the battle inside, and no external tactic can rescue you. Win the battle inside, and even major setbacks become challenges you can navigate with clarity. This inner victory marks the true starting point of everything worthwhile. Chapter 2. Discipline over feelings. Most people believe their feelings should guide their actions. They wake up and check how they feel, then decide what they will do based on that feeling. That single habit quietly destroys lives. Feelings are unstable. They change with sleep, food, stress, praise, rejection, and circumstances you cannot control. If your actions depend on how you feel, your life will stay inconsistent by default. Discipline exists to solve exactly that problem. Discipline is not about forcing yourself harshly. It is about removing choice from moments where choice weakens you. A disciplined mind does not debate every single action. It simply follows its standards. Untrained minds constantly negotiate with themselves. They say, "I will do it later. I do not feel like it today. I will start when motivation returns." Those small negotiations feel harmless, yet they slowly destroy self-trust. Every time you delay because of feelings, you teach your mind that comfort holds the highest authority. And once comfort becomes the authority, discipline collapses completely. The truth is simple and clear. Feelings are information, not instruction. They tell you what is happening inside you. They do not tell you what you must do. When feelings turn into instructions, your behavior becomes reactive and unreliable. Strong minds separate emotion from execution. They feel resistance and still take action. They feel fear and move forward anyway. They feel boredom and remain consistent anyway. Not because they have become numb, but because they understand a truth most people never learn. Progress does not require constant motivation. It requires firm standards. A standard is a rule you follow, even when you do not feel like it. You do not brush your teeth only when motivated. You do not stop at red lights based on your mood. You do not show up to important commitments only when inspired. Those behaviors run automatically because of standards. Mental discipline works exactly the same way. You decide in advance who you are and how you will act, then you execute regardless of emotional weather. This removes unnecessary friction from life. Instead of asking, "Do I feel like it?" you ask, "Is this aligned with my standard?" That simple question simplifies everything. Most emotional exhaustion comes from constant internal debate. Indecision drains far more energy than actual action. Discipline reduces mental noise and creates predictability inside your own behavior. Predictability builds trust, and that trust starts with yourself. Self-trust is powerful. When you trust yourself to follow through, you stop overthinking every step. You stop seeking constant reassurance. As you stop second-guessing every decision, you simply move forward. This is why disciplined people appear confident. They are not guessing who they will be today. They already decided long ago. Feelings still appear, but they no longer hold veto power. This truth becomes especially important under pressure. Pressure always amplifies emotion. Stress makes feelings louder. Fatigue makes discipline harder to maintain. That is exactly when standards matter most. In difficult moments, you do not rise to your potential. You fall to the level of your discipline. If your discipline stays weak, pressure will expose it without mercy. If your discipline stays strong, pressure will sharpen it. Many people misunderstand discipline as punishment or restriction. They link it with suffering and pain. In reality, discipline creates genuine freedom. Freedom from regret. Freedom from wild emotional swings. Freedom from having to start over again and again. Every time you choose discipline over feeling, you strengthen your internal authority. You teach your mind that action is never optional, and that standards remain non-negotiable. At first, this process feels uncomfortable. Your mind will resist strongly. It will search for every possible excuse. It will exaggerate fatigue and discomfort. That resistance is completely normal. It simply means the old pattern is losing control. The key is not to fight the feeling directly. The key is to ignore its command completely. You can acknowledge the discomfort without obeying it. That single skill changes everything. Over time, something powerful happens. The resistance grows quieter. The internal debate becomes shorter. Action starts to feel easier. Not because your feelings improved, but because discipline has taken the lead. You stop depending on emotional peaks to function normally. You become steady instead. Steady people win the long game. They do not burn out quickly, and they do not disappear when conditions turn hard. They need no constant encouragement. They continue moving forward no matter what. This consistency builds real momentum. Momentum builds a new identity. That identity then reinforces discipline. It becomes a self-sustaining loop. Once that loop establishes itself, life becomes simpler. Not easier, but simpler. You stop asking how to feel better. You start asking what needs to be done right now. That shift marks true maturity. Discipline is never about being harsh with yourself. It is about becoming reliable. Reliable to your goals, reliable to your standards. Reliable to the person you are becoming. In every situation, feelings will try to take the lead. Let discipline lead instead. In the next chapter, you will learn how calm becomes a true competitive advantage, and why those who stay composed under pressure control outcomes that others cannot reach. Chapter 3. Stay calm under pressure. Pressure does not create weakness. It reveals it. When pressure shows up, it does not change who you are. It exposes the level of training you have done. Most people believe calm is something you either have or do not have. They think it is personality, temperament, or pure luck. That belief keeps them weak. Calm is not a trait. Calm is a skill. And like any skill, it can be trained. Under pressure, the body reacts first. Breathing shortens. Muscles tighten. Thoughts speed up. If you do not notice this early, your mind loses control before you even realize it. Once the body panics, the mind follows. That is why staying calm starts with awareness, not willpower. You do not force calm. You create the conditions for it. Untrained minds try to push through pressure. They clench. They rush. They override every signal. That approach works for a short time, then collapses. Trained minds do the opposite. They slow the moment down. They widen their awareness, instead of narrowing it. They breathe, deliberately. They observe their thoughts without getting swept away by them. They separate the external event from their internal state. This separation gives them power. Pressure tests your training more than anything else. It shows exactly where your mind still reacts instead of responds. A calm mind under pressure sees clearly. It cuts through noise. It focuses only on what matters. An untrained mind under pressure sees chaos everywhere. It magnifies problems. It loses perspective. Calm becomes a competitive advantage because most people lose control exactly when it matters most. While others panic, you stay steady. While others argue emotionally, you think clearly. While others make impulsive decisions, you choose deliberately. That difference decides outcomes. Staying calm does not mean you feel no emotion. It means emotion does not control your next move. You can feel the rise of anger and still speak with control. You can feel fear gripping your chest and still take the needed step. You can feel uncertainty and still maintain clear thinking. This ability is built through practice in small moments. Start noticing the first signs of pressure in your body, the faster heartbeat, the tighter shoulders, the quicker breathing. The moment you notice, create a pause. Take one slow breath. Ask yourself what matters most right now. That simple pause breaks the automatic reaction chain. Trained calm is not about never feeling tension. It is about recovering faster when tension arrives. Each time you regain control quickly, your mind learns that pressure is manageable. Over time, pressure stops feeling like a threat. It starts feeling like a test you are prepared for. People respect those who stay calm. They trust those who do not lose composure. They follow those who think clearly when everyone else is reacting. Quiet authority comes from this calm. It is not loud. It is not aggressive. It is steady, and steady wins when everything else falls apart. Build this skill daily. Practice it in traffic. Practice it in difficult conversations. Practice it when plans suddenly change. The more you train calm in ordinary moments, the stronger it becomes in critical ones. Remember this: pressure will always come. How you meet it depends on how well you have trained. Calm under pressure is not luck. It is the result of consistent mental training. Master this, and you will control you. Chapter 4. Control your reactions. Most people believe they have no choice when emotions rise. They feel the surge and immediately act on it. That belief keeps them trapped. Reactions are not automatic destiny. They are habits that can be interrupted and retrained. A trained mind inserts space between the trigger and the response. In that space lies your power to choose. Without that space, you hand control to whatever emotion appears strongest in the moment. Untrained reactions feel justified in the heat of the moment. You snap back. You defend aggressively. You withdraw completely. Later you regret the damage, but the pattern repeats. Each unchecked reaction weakens your internal authority. It teaches your mind that feelings rule. Trained minds break this cycle. They feel the emotion fully, yet refuse to let it dictate the next action. They observe the rising heat without becoming it. This observation creates the pause. The pause is where freedom begins. You do not suppress the anger or fear. You simply do not obey it. Control your reactions by first recognizing the early signals, the tightening in your chest, the faster heartbeat, the urge to speak or act instantly. Notice these signals without judgment. The moment you notice, create distance. Ask one clear question. If I respond from control instead of emotion, what would that look like? That question shifts you from reactor to leader of your own mind. Controlled reactions protect your long-term position. They preserve relationships. They maintain respect. They prevent unnecessary regret. Emotional reactions may feel powerful for seconds, but they often cost you hours or days of recovery. Many situations escalate only because someone reacted without thinking. A single calm response can de-escalate what an emotional outburst would destroy. Training reaction control starts small. Practice in low-stakes moments, when someone cuts you off in traffic, when a conversation irritates you, when a delay frustrates your plans. Use these as training grounds. Feel the impulse. Pause. Choose a response that aligns with your standards. Each successful pause strengthens the muscle. Over time, the impulse weakens, and the pause becomes natural. You stop saying they made me react. You own your responses completely. Nothing outside forces your reaction. Your training level decides it. People test you unconsciously. They sense when someone reacts easily and push harder. They sense calm control and hesitate. Your consistent, controlled reactions create quiet boundaries that others respect. This does not make you cold or distant. It makes you reliable and steady. You can still feel deeply. You can still care intensely. But your actions come from intention, not impulse. Reaction control builds self-trust. Every time you choose wisely, instead of exploding, you prove to yourself that you are in command. That self-trust compounds. You carry yourself differently. You speak with more weight. You decide with clearer judgment. Untrained reactions scatter your energy. Controlled responses focus it. Protect your energy by refusing to react to everything. Not every comment deserves your reply. Not every provocation deserves engagement. Selectivity is strength. When you control your reactions, your attention becomes valuable. Your words carry more power. Your presence commands respect without demanding it. Build this skill through repetition. Do not wait for big conflicts. Train daily in ordinary friction. The mind that masters its reactions masters its life, because in the end, you cannot control what others say or do. You can only control how you meet it. Choose control. Choose the pause. Choose the response that builds rather than burns. This is mental strength in action. In the next chapter, you will learn how to build mental endurance, so discomfort no longer stops you. Chapter 5. Build mental endurance. Mental endurance is the ability to stay in the fight when everything inside you wants to quit. Most people start strong, but collapse when discomfort lasts longer than expected. They mistake short bursts of effort for real strength. True endurance is built when motivation has already disappeared, and you continue anyway. Untrained minds treat discomfort as a signal to stop. Trained minds treat it as a signal to continue. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is the training ground. Every time you push through boredom, fatigue, doubt, or resistance, your mind grows tougher. Mental endurance develops through repeated exposure to what feels uncomfortable. You do not build it by seeking easy paths. You build it by choosing the harder one on purpose. Start small. Stay focused when your mind wanders. Keep working when you feel bored. Hold your standards when temptation to quit appears. These repeated choices rewire your brain. They teach it that discomfort is temporary, but quitting creates lasting regret. A mind with endurance does not need constant excitement to keep going. It runs on commitment instead of mood. When challenges stretch longer than expected, the untrained mind begins negotiating. It looks for excuses. It lowers its own standards. It tells itself one break will not matter. Each negotiation weakens the foundation. The trained mind refuses to negotiate. It accepts the discomfort and keeps moving. It understands that endurance is forged in the moments when quitting feels reasonable. Pressure, uncertainty, and fatigue are the weights that strengthen mental muscle. Just as physical endurance improves by running farther or lifting heavier, the mind improves by staying present in difficulty longer. You build endurance by extending the time you spend in discomfort before allowing relief. Sit with uncertainty for 5 more minutes. Continue the task when every part of you wants to escape. Hold silence when the urge to speak or defend rises. These small extensions accumulate into unbreakable endurance. Over time, something powerful shifts. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable. What once caused panic becomes normal. Your tolerance for pressure increases naturally. Mental endurance gives you a massive advantage in life. While others quit at the first sign of struggle, you continue. While others burn out and disappear, you remain consistent. While others chase quick comfort, you stay committed to the process. This consistency compounds into results that impatient minds never reach. Endurance also protects your self-respect. Every time you follow through despite resistance, You reinforce the identity of someone who does not break easily. That identity becomes your default setting. People sense this endurance in you. They see someone who shows up even when conditions are not perfect. They trust you with responsibility because they know you will not fold under weight. Building mental endurance requires honesty with yourself. Notice when you want to escape. Notice when you start making deals with discomfort. Do not judge these urges. Simply observe them and choose to stay one round longer. Repetition is the only path. There are no shortcuts. You do not develop endurance by understanding the concept once. You develop it by living it daily, in small moments. When motivation fades, endurance carries you. When emotions scream for relief, endurance keeps you steady. When uncertainty clouds the future, endurance holds the line. Master this skill and discomfort loses its power over you. You stop fearing hard seasons because you know you can outlast them. You stop avoiding challenges because you trust your capacity to endure. Mental endurance turns obstacles into opportunities for growth. It transforms pressure into proof of your progress. Keep training it deliberately. Push the boundary of what you can tolerate a little further each day. The mind that endures wins the long game. Chapter 6. Think clearly in chaos. Chaos does not destroy clear thinking. Lack of training does. When situations turn messy, most minds scatter. Thoughts race in every direction. Emotions flood the system. Details blur and panic takes over. A trained mind behaves differently. It cuts through the noise. It slows the internal storm. It focuses only on what matters right now. Clear thinking in chaos is not a gift. It is a skill built through practice. The first step is awareness. Notice when chaos begins to pull you in. Your breathing changes. Your thoughts jump rapidly. Your focus narrows to threats instead of solutions. Catch these signals early. Once you notice, create an immediate pause. One slow breath. One deliberate reset. In that pause, ask 3 simple questions. What is the actual problem right now? What can I control in this moment? What is the next single step I can take? These questions bring order to disorder. They pull you out of emotional reaction and into deliberate action. Untrained minds magnify chaos. They replay worst scenarios. They mix facts with fears. They lose the ability to separate signal from noise. Trained minds do the opposite. They strip away unnecessary drama. They focus on facts first. They ignore what cannot be controlled. Clarity comes from ruthless prioritization. Not everything happening around you deserves your attention. Not every detail requires an immediate response. In chaos, your greatest weapon is selective focus. Lock on to the few things that actually move the situation forward. Let everything else fade into the background. Practice this in daily chaos, when multiple problems hit at once, when plans collapse suddenly, when emotions rise and pressure builds. Train yourself to find the center, the one decision that matters most, the one action that creates calm. Clear thinking also requires detachment. You observe the chaos without becoming part of it. You feel the tension, but do not let it dictate your next move. This detachment is learned. Each time you stay calm amid rising disorder, your mind strengthens its ability to think clearly. Over time, chaos stops feeling overwhelming. It starts feeling like familiar territory. You move through it with steady confidence. People notice this quality. They trust the person who stays clear when everyone else is lost. They follow the one who thinks straight under pressure. Clear thinking in chaos gives you authority without raising your voice. It earns respect without demanding it. Build this skill daily. When small chaos appears, do not rush. Pause. Separate facts from feelings. Identify the next right move. The more you practice, the stronger your clarity muscle becomes. Remember this truth. Chaos will always arrive. How well you think inside it determines how well you navigate it. A scattered mind loses leverage. A clear mind keeps control. Train your mind to find clarity in the storm. That ability alone can change the entire outcome. In the next chapter, you will learn how to train the inner voice so it supports you instead of controlling you. Chapter 7. Train the inner voice. The voice inside your head never stops speaking. Most people let it run wild. It criticizes, doubts, complains, and pulls them in every direction. An untrained inner voice becomes the loudest saboteur in your life. A trained mind takes command of that voice. It does not silence it completely. It redirects it. It turns the inner voice into an ally instead of an enemy. Start by noticing what your inner voice actually says. When pressure rises, does it panic or stay steady? When you face discomfort, does it urge you to quit or push forward? When you make a mistake, does it attack you or guide you? Awareness of the voice is the first step of training. Most inner dialogue is automatic and negative by default. It exaggerates threats. It replays past failures. It predicts worst outcomes. Do not fight these thoughts directly. Instead, interrupt them and replace them with deliberate statements. When the voice says, "This is too hard," train it to respond with, "This is where I build strength." When it says, "I cannot handle this," train it to answer, "I have handled harder before." When it whispers, "You will fail," train it to reply, "I will adjust and continue." Repetition is the only way to retrain the inner voice. Speak the new words out loud at first if needed, then repeat them silently during moments of pressure. The goal is not to become endlessly positive. The goal is to become accurate and useful. A trained inner voice focuses on what you can control. It reminds you of your standards. It points to the next action instead of spiraling into worry. It speaks with calm authority rather than emotional drama. Train the voice during small daily moments. When traffic delays you, when a conversation frustrates you, when tiredness tempts you to quit. Catch the old voice quickly and insert the new one. Each successful replacement strengthens the new pattern. Over time, the inner voice stops being a source of distraction. It becomes a source of stability. It calms you when emotions rise. It focuses you when chaos appears. It encourages you when motivation fades. This trained voice creates massive inner peace. You stop arguing with yourself constantly. You stop second-guessing every decision. You move through challenges with quiet confidence. People sense this inner alignment in you. Your words carry more weight because they match your internal state. Your presence feels grounded because your mind is no longer at war with itself. Training the inner voice requires consistency. Do not expect instant change after one day. Expect gradual improvement through daily practice. Every time you redirect the voice, you reinforce who you are becoming. I am someone who stays in control. I am someone who thinks clearly under pressure. I am someone who follows through. These repeated statements shape your identity from the inside. Master this, and the loudest voice in your life works for you instead of against you. The inner voice no longer controls you. You control it. A trained inner voice turns mental noise into mental strength. In the next chapter, you will learn how to show up consistently even when motivation completely disappears. Chapter 8. Show up consistently. Consistency is the final test of mental training. Most people start strong when motivation is high, but vanish the moment feelings fade. They confuse bursts of effort with real commitment. A trained mind shows up regardless of how it feels. Showing up consistently means doing what matters, even when no one is watching and no immediate reward appears. It means keeping your standards alive on the days motivation is completely gone. Untrained minds wait for the perfect mood. They wait for inspiration. They wait for energy to return. While they wait, opportunities slip away, and self-trust erodes. The trained mind removes waiting from the equation. It decides in advance and then executes. It treats consistency as a non-negotiable standard rather than an optional feeling. You build this habit through small daily repetitions, not massive efforts that burn you out, but reliable actions repeated even when they feel boring or pointless. When the urge to skip appears, pause and ask one question. What would the version of me who stays in control do right now? Then do that. Consistency compounds quietly. One small action becomes momentum. Momentum becomes identity. Identity becomes character. The person who shows up consistently develops unbreakable self-trust. They know they can rely on themselves even when conditions are difficult. That trust changes how they carry themselves in every area of life. Consistency also separates you from the majority. While others chase quick results and disappear at the first sign of resistance, you remain. You outlast them simply by continuing when they stop. This endurance in showing up creates results that impatient minds never achieve. Progress becomes inevitable because you refuse to break the chain. Train consistency in the ordinary moments. The workout when you do not feel like it. The task when boredom sets in. The commitment when excitement has worn off. These are the real testing grounds. Master them, and big challenges become manageable. Consistency is not about perfection. It is about reliability. Showing up even when you are tired. Continuing even when progress feels slow. Keeping your word to yourself even when no one else knows. A consistent mind becomes steady under pressure. It becomes clear in chaos. It becomes reliable when it matters most. By showing up day after day, you prove to yourself that you are no longer controlled by fleeting emotions. You are driven by chosen standards. This shift is quiet but powerful. Your confidence grows not from hype, but from evidence of your own actions. Your respect for yourself deepens because you keep the promises you make to yourself. In the end, the life you build is not decided by how motivated you felt on your best days. It is decided by how consistently you showed up on your average and difficult days. Train this final skill relentlessly. Make consistency your default mode. Let it become who you are. When you master showing up, even when motivation disappears, you no longer need to chase fleeting feelings. You become someone who simply gets it done. This is the true foundation of a trained mind. Not motivation, not confidence, but quiet, unbreakable consistency. You have now completed the core principles. Apply them daily. Repeat them. Live them. The person you become under pressure will define everything that follows. Stay in control. Stay disciplined. Stay consistent. That is how real winning begins. Chapter 9. Apply what you have trained. Training without application is simply entertainment. You have gone through the principles. Now the real work begins. Application turns knowledge into power. Start today with one principle at a time. Do not try to change everything at once. Pick the area where you lose control most often. Choose one small situation and practice deliberately. When pressure rises, pause and breathe. When feelings try to lead, choose discipline instead. When chaos hits, ask what matters most right now. When the inner voice spirals, redirect it firmly. When motivation fades, show up anyway. These small daily applications build the pause you need. They strengthen your standards. They rewire your reactions. Track your progress honestly. Notice when you catch yourself before reacting. Celebrate the moments you choose. Control over impulse. Each success proves the training is working. Application requires patience. Change does not happen overnight. It happens through repeated choices in ordinary moments. Expect resistance. Your old habits will push back. That resistance is normal. It is the sign that new patterns are forming. Do not quit when it feels difficult. Push through one more time. Extend the pause a little longer. Hold the standard a little stricter. Consistency in application creates compounding results. Your mind becomes calmer under pressure. Your decisions become clearer in chaos. Your self-trust grows with every follow-through. Apply these principles in real life, in conversations, in work, in delays and frustrations, in moments when no one is watching. The more you apply them, the more natural they feel. What once required effort becomes your default way of operating. Remember this: a trained mind is useless if it stays only in theory. Its value appears only when tested in action. Use every challenge as practice, every discomfort as training, every setback as feedback. By applying what you have learned, you move from knowing to becoming. You stop being the person who reacts. You become the person who responds with control. This is the final step. Live the training. Embody the principles. Let them shape how you show up every single day. You now have the system. The rest depends on your daily choices. Stay committed. Stay deliberate. Stay in control. That is how a trained mind transforms your entire life. End of the audiobook. Chapter 10. The Trained Mind. You have reached the end. This is not the finish line. It is the beginning of living with a trained mind. A trained mind does not fear pressure. It meets pressure with steadiness. It does not chase motivation. It runs on discipline and standards. From this point forward, every challenge becomes practice. Every discomfort becomes training. Every reaction you control becomes proof that change is happening. The trained mind pauses before speaking. It observes before acting. It chooses deliberately instead of exploding automatically. It stays calm when others panic. It thinks clearly when others scatter. It shows up when others quit. This is not perfection. This is reliability. You become someone others can count on. More importantly, you become someone you can count on. Carry these principles with you. Review them often. Apply them daily. Let repetition do its work. The person you are in difficult moments defines your life. With a trained mind, those moments no longer expose weakness. They reveal strength. You no longer ask, "What if things go wrong?" You know whatever happens, you will stay in control. That single shift changes everything. Thank you for listening actively. Now go apply what you have trained. Build the pause. Strengthen the discipline. Own your reactions. Endure the discomfort. Think clearly in chaos. Train the inner voice. Show up consistently. Do this day after day, and the results will speak for themselves. You now possess a trained mind. Use it. Protect it. Live it. This is how real winning begins. Not with motivation, not with hype, but with quiet, unbreakable control. End.